I mean, you know, when I'm betting on real fights.
Real fights, yeah.
Not saying that they're not real fighters. They're novice. They're novice professional fighters.
When it comes to big-name boxing matches, the idea of Jake Paul facing Conor McGregor has been a topic of conversation for years. Fueled by their larger-than-life personalities and success in their respective combat sports, the potential fight has caught the imagination of fans and pundits alike. But when you ask someone like Floyd Mayweather about it, you get a glimpse into the complexities of such a matchup. Mayweather, a legendary boxer who's been in the ring with some of the best, has been vocal about his thoughts on the fight, giving us his perspective on both Jake Paul and Conor McGregor. At the core of the conversation, you have Jake Paul, a YouTube sensation turned professional boxer. Over the past few years, Paul has surprised many with his commitment to the sport. Initially met with skepticism, his dedication to boxing has been undeniable. Despite his unconventional start, Jake has steadily improved in the ring, showcasing his raw power and grit in bouts against former MMA champions like Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva. What's most impressive is how he's managed to dominate these fights with the kind of force and intensity that has made many take him seriously as a boxer. On the flip side, there's Conor McGregor. Known for his brash attitude and striking prowess in MMA, McGregor is a former two-division UFC champion with a reputation for his lightning-fast left hand and precision strikes. McGregor's success in MMA has been built on his ability to read his opponents and adapt in the heat of battle, and he's knocked out some of the best fighters in the world. But boxing is a different animal, and it's one thing to dominate in the octagon and quite another to be successful in a sport that has far more specialized techniques. Mayweather, who famously defeated McGregor in their 2017 boxing match, shared his thoughts on this hypothetical matchup between Jake Paul and Conor McGregor. Mayweather's view is nuanced, reflecting his deep understanding of the sport and the contrasting styles of the two fighters. When asked about the fight, Mayweather didn't mince words, but he also made it clear that while Jake Paul may be improving, McGregor's experience in high-stakes bouts would give him an edge in some areas. However, Mayweather emphasized that boxing, at its highest level, often rewards skill and strategy over raw power. I mean, when I'm betting on real fights, Mayweather said, setting the tone for the conversation. I'm betting on top-flight fighters, not on novices. What Jake Paul is doing, yeah, that's the best novice fight you're going to see right now, but make no mistake, that's still a novice fight. Jake's still a work in progress. But you can't take that away from him. The kid's got power, and he's got heart. Mayweather's assessment of Jake Paul is one of cautious respect. While he acknowledges Paul's physical strength and the improvements he's made, Mayweather's main point of critique is Paul's experience or lack thereof. Jake's opponents so far, while skilled, aren't at the elite level of boxers, Mayweather explained. When you step into the ring with someone who's been at the highest level of boxing for years, you need more than just power. Technique and strategy are what win fights, and that's where Jake is still learning. Mayweather also took the time to highlight McGregor's conditioning as a potential weakness. We all know McGregor's cardio can be a problem, especially when the fight goes past the early rounds, Mayweather noted. This was a critical point, especially considering that McGregor has shown tendencies to tire in longer fights, whether in MMA or boxing. Jake Paul has size and strength on his side, and if Conor isn't prepared for a long bout, that could be a serious issue. In contrast, Mayweather offered a different take on Conor McGregor. While McGregor's MMA background presents a significant advantage in terms of his striking, Mayweather pointed out a key difference between the two experiences. Conor's got one of the best left hands in the game, Mayweather said. His power and precision are top tier, and he's proven that in the UFC. But boxing? It's a different world. He explained that McGregor's experience in boxing, while notable, is limited when compared to elite-level professionals who have dedicated their careers to mastering the sport. He's been in a few big boxing fights, but he's still learning the nuances of boxing at the highest level. In terms of physicality, Mayweather pointed out the obvious size difference between Jake Paul and Conor McGregor. Jake Paul is taller, heavier, and has a natural advantage in terms of reach, Mayweather said. That gives him the ability to control the tempo of the fight, especially early on. McGregor at 5'8" is shorter and has a more compact build compared to the 6 Paul. This size discrepancy could make it difficult for McGregor to close the distance effectively, particularly against a fighter like Jake, who isn't shy about using his reach to his advantage. While Mayweather refrained from making a definitive prediction about the outcome, he did say that both fighters would have to rely on their mental toughness and ability to execute a game plan. Boxing is all about strategy, discipline, and staying composed, Mayweather stated. Jake's ability to stick to a game plan and not get reckless will be crucial, but Conor's experience in big fights could give him a psychological edge. McGregor thrives under pressure, and that might help him in the later rounds, especially if he can close the distance and land those explosive punches. Mayweather also highlighted the importance of mental warfare. Both Paul and McGregor are known for their trash talking and psychological tactics before a fight, and how they handle the mental aspect of the bout could play a big role in who comes out on top. Both of these guys are great at getting into their opponent's head, Mayweather said. Jake has the power to back up his words, and McGregor knows how to get under someone's skin. But when it's time to fight, that's when the real game begins. For Mayweather, who has seen it all, this potential fight would be a showcase of contrasting styles and mindsets. On one hand, you have Jake Paul, a powerful and determined novice with a unique ability to rise to the occasion. On the other, you have Conor McGregor, a veteran who has fought in the biggest arenas in combat sports but still needs to prove himself in a boxing ring against someone of Paul's size and power. Both of these guys are talented in their own right, Mayweather concluded. But in boxing, it's not just about the power. It's about who has the discipline, who can control the tempo, and who can outthink the other. That's what will decide the fight. As for who would win, that's still anyone's guess. Would Jake Paul's size and power be enough to overcome McGregor's experience and striking precision? Or would McGregor's adaptability and ability to thrive under pressure be the key to victory? It's a clash of two very different fighters, and as Mayweather pointed out, strategy and discipline will likely be the deciding factors in what promises to be one of the most talked about matchups in recent years. Between these two larger-than-life personalities would add another layer to the contest, with each attempting to unsettle the other before the first bell. Take Paul the first mean, as long as he continued to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's going to continue to look good and shy. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not going to be that good. He told me before his goal is to fight Canelo, so that's where his mindset get by Canelo. He get demolished beyond the technical breakdown. Mayweather acknowledged the sheer financial appeal of this matchup, with both fighters excelling in self-promotion and commanding massive fan bases. The fight would undoubtedly be a pay-per-view blockbuster. Jake Paul's influence among younger audiences and McGregor's global star power would draw millions, making it a commercial spectacle as much as a sporting event. In Mayweather's view, Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor represents more than just a fight. It is a collision of two distinct worlds, boxing and MMA, old school technique and new age celebrity. While the matchup remains speculative, the buzz surrounding it is a testament to the unpredictable nature of combat sports. Mayweather's analysis highlights the complexities of this potential clash, leaving fans to debate who would emerge victorious in what could be one of the most talked about events in fighting history. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor's interactions with Jake Paul have changed, suggesting that the two may actually be getting into a boxing match. Paul, often labeled a problem child, has never shied away from expressing his desire to face UFC star McGregor in the boxing ring. With an impressive 11-1 professional record, he has repeatedly challenged the notorious fighter, sweetening the proposition position with enticingly lucrative fight deals. Paul's most recent call-out of the Irishman came in the wake of his unanimous decision victory over Mike Tyson in November, telling a post-fight press conference, "And it's funny to say Conor McGregor is scared of Jake Paul and will never box him, but it's the truth, and look at him go toe-to-toe with Nate Diaz, who was easy work for me. It was like a Monday sparring session to beat Nate Diaz's ass. He doesn't ever want this smoke with me. It will never happen." In the early stages of his career, McGregor brushed off Paul's fight challenge, minimizing the impact the content creator had on the world of boxing. McGregor's stance began to evolve as Paul carved out his own reputation, defeating a roster of former UFC icons, including Ben Askren, Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, Tyron Woodley, and Mike Perry. Speaking to the media a few years back, McGregor explained, "I couldn't care about them two dingbats," taking aim at both Jake and his older brother Logan. When asked if he would ever see himself fighting either of them, McGregor added, "I don't see so, but never say never. If they're going to keep competing and whatnot, who knows." But dingbats regarding his dislike of Paul McGregor has also been extremely vehement on the internet, taking to X after the YouTuber's TKO win over Perry in July. The challenge was clear: Jake Paul would not consider a fight with McGregor unless the UFC and Dana White were involved. This has only fueled the fire, as McGregor has long expressed his disdain for Jake's approach to boxing. Jake's attempts to negotiate a fight without the UFC's backing may signal McGregor's belief that the entire scenario is a publicity stunt by the Paul brothers to boost their brand, rather than a legitimate athletic contest. McGregor has long been a polarizing figure, and now with Jake Paul's insistence on a potential boxing bout, the animosity between Conor McGregor and Jake Paul has only intensified in recent months, reaching new heights of bitterness as the two fighters exchange barbs both inside and outside the ring. McGregor, known for his fiery and unapologetic demeanor, wasted no time slamming Jake Paul on social media after the latter's recent victories, calling him the biggest piss bag he had ever encountered. 40-pound weight difference juiced out of his head and still expletive himself in there, McGregor fumed, accusing Jake of not only cheating but also failing to live up to the hype in the ring. McGregor didn't stop there. He further mocked Jake's recent call out of 60-year-old boxing legend Mike Tyson, who had recently suffered an in-flight medical emergency. "I swear to God, Nikisa, Jake's manager, should take him to Vegas." "Oh, that's right, you could never. The Athletic Commission, real testing, real fighting, you could never," McGregor taunted, painting Jake as an untested fighter who was taking advantage of weak competition. The back and forth between McGregor and Paul has only gotten more intense, with McGregor recently teasing a potential match against Jake's older brother, Logan Paul. Despite rumors swirling about a possible clash with UFC featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, McGregor took to social media to shut down the speculation. The rumors are false. He clarified, adding that he was in preliminary talks with the Amani family to face Logan Paul in a boxing exhibition in India. He further mentioned that following the exhibition, he would seek his return to the UFC. This move was seen as a surprise to many, considering McGregor's absence from the octagon since his devastating loss to Dustin Poirier in July 2021, where McGregor suffered a horrific leg injury that ultimately ended his fight career for the time being. However, while McGregor's plan to fight Logan in India has sparked interest, recent reports suggest that McGregor could be setting his sights on Jake Paul instead. The younger Paul has continued to campaign for a fight with McGregor, and in early December, Jake took to X, formerly Twitter, to clarify why he had declined to negotiate with McGregor and his team without the involvement of the UFC and Dana White. Now it all makes sense why Conor McGregor and his management team have been desperately trying to get MVP Most Valuable Promotions to negotiate for a fight between us, Jake wrote. As we told them privately, and I'm now saying it publicly, the only way we're willing to explore me versus Conor in a pro boxing MMA fight is if Dana White and the UFC are at the table directly or make it clear they are okay with discussions. Jake's words were laced with condescension, calling McGregor washed and suggesting that the Irishman was in desperate need of a fight, any fight, to stay relevant in the combat sports world. It seems that the two men are caught in a war of words that might actually lead to an eventual showdown in the ring. With McGregor's UFC future uncertain and his return to the octagon delayed, the idea of him stepping into a boxing ring once again has become increasingly likely. McGregor has not fought professionally in boxing since his controversial TKO loss to Floyd Mayweather in 2017, which, while lucrative, highlighted his limitations in the squared circle when compared to the technical brilliance of Mayweather. The defeat, though it was expected, still stung McGregor, and since then he's been focused on his UFC career. However, his recent struggles in the octagon, particularly the injury that forced him out of UFC competition, may have shifted his focus back to the sport of boxing. Some see this as a way for McGregor to re-establish his dominance in a sport that's familiar to him while waiting for the right time to make his UFC comeback. Jake Paul, on the other hand, is looking to prove that he belongs in the upper echelons of the boxing world. Despite his critics, Paul has displayed an impressive work ethic with several notable victories over former UFC fighters like Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, and Anderson Silva. Although many still dismiss Paul as a novelty act, he has gradually earned respect from a portion of the boxing community due to his dedication to the sport. However, McGregor and others remain skeptical, and they've been quick to point out that Paul has yet to face a truly elite boxer, something that could expose his flaws. "You're a donkey," McGregor said in a recent interview, mocking Paul's ability in the ring. He also hinted that Paul's windy nature, that is, his tendency to talk a big game but struggle when the stakes are high, would ultimately result in his downfall if he ever faced a seasoned elite fighter like McGregor. The friction between McGregor and the Paul brothers, however, isn't just about fighting. There's a clear cultural clash at play. McGregor has built his brand on brash confidence, skill in the octagon, and his unique ability to sell himself as the Mystic Mac, who predicted outcomes and dominated the fight world. Jake Paul, however, represents the new wave of celebrity-driven combat sports, where social media prowess and self-promotion often outweigh traditional fighting credentials. It's this clash of old-school technique and new-age celebrity that makes the potential fight between McGregor and Jake Paul so compelling. Many fans wonder if McGregor, with his superior striking skills and more extensive combat sports experience, could silence the Paul brothers once and for all, or if Jake Paul's unorthodox, viral-driven rise could continue to shake up the boxing world. Meanwhile, McGregor's recent legal troubles have only added fuel to the fire. After losing a civil case in Dublin, McGregor deleted a tweet where he mocked someone else's legal misfortune, perhaps to avoid further negative press. However, it's clear that McGregor's frustrations with Jake Paul and the whole circus surrounding him continue to simmer. Some even wonder if McGregor's decision to delete the tweet and shift his focus to his upcoming exhibition fight with Logan Paul is a sign that he's preparing for a bigger confrontation with Jake. By negotiating a fight with Logan, McGregor could be positioning himself to face Jake next, once again proving that he is the dominant force in the world of combat sports. Whether it's Logan or Jake, McGregor seems to have his eyes set on taking down one of the Paul brothers and with it, reclaiming the spotlight. In conclusion, the prospect of Conor McGregor facing Jake Paul in a boxing ring is no longer just a distant dream but a legitimate possibility. While McGregor's UFC return remains uncertain, the buzz around a potential boxing clash with Jake Paul only continues to grow. With both fighters boasting massive fan bases and larger-than-life personalities, the fight would undoubtedly be one of the most talked-about events in combat sports history. Fans and analysts alike will be watching closely, wondering if McGregor can reclaim his former glory or if Jake Paul's rise to fame will continue to disrupt the established order of boxing. The drama surrounding the potential fights between Conor McGregor, Jake Paul, and Logan Paul continues to escalate as speculation about each matchup grows. One thing is certain: Conor McGregor is at the center of all of it, and his every move is being analyzed by both fans and analysts alike. The intrigue surrounding McGregor's future in the ring, or potentially the octagon, has led to intense debates, with sports betting odds further fueling the fire. The betting lines for both McGregor vs. Jake Paul and McGregor vs. Logan Paul show stark differences in how the fights are perceived, with McGregor facing a tough challenge in both cases. In a potential showdown between McGregor and Jake Paul, the betting odds clearly place McGregor as the underdog. The current odds list Jake Paul at -300, meaning he is the favorite fighter in this potential matchup, while McGregor is at 240. This means a $100 bet on McGregor would win $240 if he were to win, but the odds are reflective of the public perception that Paul has the edge, given his recent success and undefeated record in boxing against former MMA fighters. Despite McGregor's immense skill and his reputation as one of the best strikers in mixed martial arts, his boxing record remains limited: one fight, one loss to Floyd Mayweather in 2017, and his absence from the sport since that loss has raised doubts about his current readiness. On the other hand, Jake Paul, despite his critics, has been putting in the work in the boxing ring. With victories over fighters like Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, and Anderson Silva, Jake has made a name for himself as a legitimate, albeit unorthodox, boxer. But McGregor's sharp skills and experience in high-stakes fights can't be discounted, which is why the betting line is more favorable toward Paul. McGregor's experience in high-pressure, multi-round bouts, coupled with his left hand that has put many opponents to sleep in the UFC, means he is far from a pushover. But it's the uncertainty around McGregor's conditioning and the time he's been away from the sport that leaves many questioning whether he can stand up to Jake Paul's growing confidence in the ring. In contrast to the Jake Paul fight, the betting odds for a potential Conor McGregor vs. Logan Paul showdown are significantly closer. McGregor is listed at 110, while Logan is at -140, making McGregor the underdog, but with a far narrower margin than in the fight with Jake. This indicates that fans and oddsmakers alike are giving McGregor a better shot against Logan, perhaps due to the difference in skill level between the two Paul brothers. Logan Paul is a much taller and more physically imposing figure than Jake, standing at 6'8" compared to Jake's 6'6", but Logan has been much less active in boxing. His most notable fight was against Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition match in June 2021, which he survived all 8 rounds but struggled to land any significant punches on Mayweather. Despite Logan's size advantage, many in the combat sports world see McGregor's elite skill set as a potential game changer, especially with McGregor having bulked up since his last appearance in the UFC. The sports betting landscape also presents some intriguing possibilities for Jake Paul's next opponent. If Jake Paul were to face Roy Jones Jr., the odds favor Paul at -400, with Jones Jr. at 300. While Paul is the clear favorite, this also shows that oddsmakers view Jones as a real threat, despite being older and with less of a recent competitive track record. But when the topic turns to a potential fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez, the odds are heavily in Canelo's favor, with Jake Paul listed as a massive underdog at 750. Commentators, and he wasn't holding back in his assessment of the possible fight. "I don't think he's ready to be back in the UFC. I think he would get his ass kicked thoroughly," Smith said on First Take, expressing his preference for McGregor boxing Paul over a UFC return. He added, "These fighters are elite. Their definition of being in shape and ready to fight isn't bloating themselves up with muscles and looking good in the mirror." Smith brought up the fact that McGregor's most recent notable triumph was against Donald Cerrone in 2020, which many people thought was lackluster. Smith pointed out McGregor's recent struggles, arguing that Logan Paul's size, athleticism, and background in exhibition boxing might give the YouTube star turned WWE sensation an advantage he's not Jake Paul training with professional boxers and getting in the ring with non-box or geriatric dudes. Logan Paul is doing this as an entertainer, Smith said, adding that Paul's stint with Floyd Mayweather showcased his athleticism. Although Smith recognized McGregor's impressive legacy as a 2 UFC champion, he questioned whether the Irishman could adjust to the technical intricacies of boxing. "He's just sitting up there, not even throwing, you ain't clipping Logan Paul like that," Smith remarked. Reactions online to the rumored fight have been divided, with numerous fans doubting the authenticity of the matchup and voicing their weariness over the growing trend of influencer boxing bouts. Memes and online remarks have mostly ridiculed the fight, branding it as a money-making stunt, a view strengthened by McGregor's track record of broken promises regarding past bouts. The possibility of McGregor and Paul facing off is sure to attract a lot of spectators. Despite the skepticism, as Smith put it, "It's pure entertainment. The fight might be another big event in the world of influencer boxing." Regardless of whether spectators view it as a show or a genuine contest on the Ariel Helwani show, Helwani validated the possibility, noting, "Now you may be asking yourself, Okay, how is this possible? How could Paul compete against Conor McGregor in a boxing match? Logan Paul is a WWE competitor. Conor McGregor is a UFC fighter. Well, then you quickly come to the realization that the parent company of WWE and UFC is TKO, so they are all under the same umbrella. Very easy to get done. Amir Khan, the former boxing champion, has shared his thoughts on the rumored clash between Logan and McGregor, suggesting it would be a more logical matchup for his brother Jake to face off against McGregor instead in an interview with the Sports Daily. Amir Khan expressed confidence that Conor McGregor would have no trouble handling Logan Paul in a fight, pointing to the bout between Paul and Floyd Mayweather. As a reference, he added, "If you look at Logan's Mayweather fight, he went into the ring and beat him, so I'm sure Conor could do the same." I don't think Logan is as good as Jake. I think Jake's the better one out of them two. Even though he's a little bit heavier, I still think he's very, very beatable, Conor McGregor, by knockout, because Logan is very limited as a boxer. He doesn't punch as hard as Jake and his skills are not as good as Jake, but it'd be massive. Nevertheless, the UBC International Welterweight Champion believes that without a doubt a bout between Jake Paul and Conor McGregor would be the more compelling matchup. I do think if it was with Jake, it'd be much bigger, because if you look at Logan, he's had losses and he's not really looked that great in fights. Jake is commercially a bigger fight, Khan explained. So that's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos.
Oh,